Future technology, transportation system in 2050. What if we told you that the future of transportation systems would not be flying cars, would not be teleportation, would not be time travel, but the future might require you to take your hands off the steering wheel? A future where you don't have to drive anymore. Or what if we told you that you will no longer have to book a flight if you want to travel to an international destination? Instead, you could just book a ticket for a spacecraft, and that spacecraft will take you to that destination in significantly less amount of time. Yes, you heard it right. So what exactly will the future of transportation look like by 2050? Humans always moved from one place to another, which is how we populated the entire planet, at least most of it. But as the technology improves, the desire to travel much faster with greater convenience is increasing. And that's how we got the first wheel, and that wheel was then used in carts and wagons, steam power, and internal combustion engines. And right now, we are at a point where the innovation is at electric cars, electric bikes, and autonomous vehicles. Most of the roads that we use today were designed, let's say, about 50 years or even 100 years ago, which means those roadways were designed to cater to the needs of the population back then, which makes it extremely impractical today as these roadways cannot keep up with the demand for modern mobility needs. And that's why we're dealing with the current traffic congestion on our roadways. Traffic inefficiencies cost the global economy billions of dollars annually because the roadways, railways, airways, and marine transportation do not always work as intended. And there is still a lot of work required for the seamless operation of these modes of transportation. The transport systems of today are also a major contributor to greenhouse emissions, with about 28% of the total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions in 2017 by vehicles alone. Greenhouse gases are the cause of climate change, and they pose a high risk to human health and safety. According to the World Health Organization, ambient air pollution caused by vehicles results in millions of deaths and diseases around the world, which is why we need to take the future of transportation really seriously. So, what exactly does the future of transportation look like? Well, it all depends upon the kind of energy source that we have, as we know that fossil fuels are not the best sources for fuel, clearly from an environment perspective. Which means we need to have smarter sources of energy and better modes of transportation, along with the technological infrastructure to support new transportation methods that will also be energy efficient or might use a different energy source altogether, like electricity. This means that we are looking at three common themes with the future of transportation. That would be the use of artificial intelligence, electrification, and autonomy. But wait, we already have this with Tesla, right? So does this mean that we are already living in the future with Teslas of today? Well, today's vehicles are not fully autonomous, and you still need to monitor the activities of your vehicle. So the next big thing as far as the future of transportation is concerned would be self-driving vehicles, and most of them would be taxis, which means you no longer have to own vehicles. All you need to do is book a ride on your smartphone just like you would do today. But this time, you would be picked up by a vehicle that entirely drives itself. Futuristic taxis would be able to communicate with each other with smart infrastructure and Internet of Things. These vehicles will also be able to communicate with customers, which would then make the process much easier than what it is today. Maybe we can also see a reduction in traffic, and soon we could completely get rid of traffic signals. Railways have always been one of the fastest land transportation systems out there, but those railways might get replaced with Hyperloop. This innovative Hyperloop is basically a low-pressure near-vacuum tube that is contained in pressurized capsule facilitated by magnetic levitation to transport passengers and cargo from one place to another using a system free of air resistance to reach that ultra-high speed of about 600 miles per hour. The best part is these could be elevated, underground, or even underwater, which makes it extremely flexible. But again, the construction of vacuum tubes over long distances is a huge task, which will require billions of dollars in funding, which is why we still don't have the Hyperloop. But Hyperloop will be the most exciting futuristic mode of transportation that people are looking forward to by 2050. You also need to take into account that SpaceX is working on reusable rockets. And soon, we might completely get rid of airplanes for long-distance travel, because we might opt for suborbital space flights for those long-distance travels. We can expect it to happen by 2050 because it will take some time for SpaceX to do their magic. Apart from autonomous vehicles on the road, we might actually get flying vehicles which could be autonomous aerial vehicles. These are similar to drones, but with drones they're generally uncrewed, and autonomous aerial vehicles are different because they are primarily designed for transporting passengers. Most of these flying vehicles will be using the vertical takeoff and landing technology, which means you can just fly away with this without requiring a runway. In theory, this idea is all about taking passengers off the congested roadways and taking them directly to their destination, which will then help cut a lot of travel time. But then, there are so many problems with such transport systems. We have Elon Musk himself stating that he doesn't want to deal with flying cars. Keep in mind that Elon Musk is someone who's known for disrupting the automotive industry with electric vehicles, and he thinks that flying cars are an extremely dumb idea for city travel. And he thinks building a tunnel would make more sense, even though most people think that building underground networks of tunnels is a crazy idea. But Musk thinks that it's less crazier than flying cars. Flying cars need to generate a lot of downward force to not fall out of the sky, which would result in a lot of wind and noise for people to tolerate. Things will get worse if flying cars fail because of the falling debris. We are pretty sure that you don't want to get killed by a flying vehicle when you just went out to grab a burger from your favorite fast food joint. That's just a terrible way to die. But do you know what is better? Well, that would be subscribing to our channel for more tech-related content just like this one. And make sure to turn on post notifications because we clearly don't want you to miss out on any of our future uploads. And hey, consider smashing that like button as well if you think the future of transportation would be fully autonomous vehicles. With more autonomous vehicles, experts are of the opinion that individual car ownership will decrease significantly globally over the coming years. In Canada, a 2019 study by the automotive data company Canadian Black Book revealed that about 35% of Canadians aged 18 to 34 plan to reduce their household fleet over the next 2 years. And 41% of that same group are planning to get it done in just the next 10 years. This is because the cost of ownership of vehicles is just getting higher. But new mobility services like the one offered by ride-sharing companies might give us a better alternative to owning a vehicle, especially when we get autonomous vehicles that will just get us from point A to point B, without having to deal with the driving part. Many legacy auto manufacturers are trying to take the next big step when it comes to transportation systems, by integrating electric vehicles in their lineup, and these companies are investing in mobility research and development, even though we don't have proper electric vehicle from the legacy auto manufacturers as of today. And we are still confused as to why they are not challenging Tesla's dominance already. Because they have all the resources to bring about the green revolution with electric vehicles in the automotive sector. The futuristic transportation of 2050 is already here right now, but it's in its early form. We're looking at integration of big data, Internet of Things, and zero-emission technology, which will give us much more efficient methods of transportation. Yes, the cars will still be on the road by 2050, and flying cars might not be the futuristic vehicles that we once thought it would be. But the energy that powers our vehicles and the way people would be buying vehicles or leasing them and the way they drive them is about to change. This way, you can be more productive even when you're commuting.